welcome to the Commission. Just before this meeting, I had engagement with our Chief Executive Officer about the transfer report, because it is now the end of our 7-year term at the Human Rights Commission, and we now need to come up with a transfer report which is supposed to say what have we done, where were we successful, and what still needs to stay on the agenda, and how do we see the future of the Commission. The Commission is, as we call it, one of the Chapter 9 institutions in our Constitution. Our Constitution has been a negotiated one that brought the two warring parties together of the liberation movement as opposed to the sitting oppressive regime, and that in itself, as you gathered, really stands out still in our history as a very important moment in our country. And as a result of those very difficult negotiations, we came up with this very, very valuable document that we call the contract that South Africans have with each other, the social contract, meaning this Constitution. And it really was put together through a very strong negotiated process. Compromises were made. We had to decide between particular compromises or a bloodbath. In the end, we managed to achieve this miracle, not because it just fell out of the air, but because people worked very hard to achieve that. Where we are today is a little bit distant from where we were when this Constitution was signed. We have regressed terribly in our country. We have regressed in a way that really concerns us as human rights people. But yeah, the Chapter 9 institution means that the drafters at the time felt that despite this important negotiated settlement, that you still need a set of institutions that can stand there for the maintenance of the constitutional democracy, supporting the constitutional democracy outside of Parliament. The other part of our Constitution is that we are no longer a parliamentary sovereignty. We are now sovereign to the Constitution. The Constitution is our sovereign instrument. Parliament is subject to that Constitution. And that to a country that comes from the Westminster system for many years, that from a country where we have majority rule now as opposed to minority rule, is quite a feat. And still at this moment, people in Parliament still think that they have the supreme say, whereas they have been called to order very seriously recently in very substantial and substantive judgments from our highest court in the land against the president, against the government, giving clear direction, saying that, no sir, you don't have the last word, the Constitution has the last word. And that in itself shows the vibrancy of our democracy, that in itself shows the independence of our judiciary, that in itself shows the tension between power and the Constitution. Because we've also moved away from this wonderful sense of democracy to a sense of power. And where the majority party has become so powerful that it is violating the Constitution on a regular basis. Where corruption is really reigning quite strongly in our society, it's really rooted in our society, but we feel that the Constitution, the constitutional institutions such as the Human Rights Commission are there now exactly for that, to ensure that we have built in the necessary checks and balances to address that. Long term, but we are making our inroads in that. And thank you very much again for your interest. Thank you very much again for the person that you represent here in the person of Martin Luther King, who also in his way had a major impact on not so much the South African outcomes, but more the South African struggle. When we were struggling against a very powerful government, when we were struggling against very powerful regime, we didn't know that there were other people on this globe that were struggling in the same way as we do. We didn't know that there were people that articulated what we went through in other parts of the globe. And when we started to hear almost, no, I won't make that example.